I never imagined I'd be typing this out for the world to see, but here I am, spilling my family's darkest secrets because honestly, it's therapeutic. I need to tell someone, and who better than Reddit? So buckle up because this tale has everything: drama, betrayal, family secrets, and sweet, sweet revenge. Growing up, my brother Liam and I were close. At least, that's what I thought. We were 2 years apart, him being older, and everyone always told me how lucky I was to have an older brother who looked out for me. It was true, in a way. Liam was always the golden boy. He got good grades, was popular, and was a natural-born leader. People adored him, including my parents, but I never felt like I lived in his shadow, at least not until recently. Our family business was everything to my parents. My dad had built it from scratch after immigrating to the US, and my mom had been the brains behind the operation. They ran a chain of luxury furniture stores that did quite well. By the time Liam and I were in our 20s, the business was booming. We had a couple of dozen stores across the state, and they were planning to expand into other states. It was their legacy, and they were planning on handing it down to us. But life, as you know, has a funny way of flipping everything upside down. 2 years ago, my dad was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. My mom, who had always been his rock, became completely overwhelmed. She focused entirely on caring for him, and, understandably, the business began to take a back seat. That's when Liam stepped up, or so it seemed. He offered to help run things while Dad was undergoing treatment. I was still involved, but I wasn't as hands-on because I had a job in marketing, and honestly, I trusted Liam to handle the business. We both knew that eventually, we'd be co-owners. Our parents had made that clear. 50-50ths. So, I didn't feel the need to be involved in every detail. Big mistake. At first, things seemed fine. Liam was managing the day-to-day operations, and whenever I asked, he assured me everything was running smoothly. But after a few months, I started noticing little changes. First, he stopped consulting me on business decisions. Then, the financial reports he used to send my way started to disappear. I wasn't naive, I knew something was off, but I had no idea how bad it really was. A few months later, our father passed away, and everything changed. Our mother was heartbroken, and during this time, Liam convinced her to let him handle the business so she could grieve. I was still in the loop, but only barely. I figured it was temporary and that once things settled, we'd go back to the way things were. But one day, while visiting the main office, I overheard a conversation that shook me to my core. Liam was talking to our lawyer, a slimy guy I never liked, about transferring ownership of the entire business to him, without me. He was telling the lawyer that he had our mother's verbal consent to take full control and that I didn't need to be involved. He described me as unreliable and unfit to run the business. I felt my blood run cold. My own brother was plotting to steal the family legacy right from under me. I wish I could say I confronted him right then and there, but I didn't. I was in shock. How could Liam, my own flesh and blood, do this? I decided to keep quiet, but I knew I had to take action. This wasn't just about money or control. It was about betrayal. My brother was willing to cut me out of something we had both been promised for years. I couldn't let that slide. I started digging. I knew that if Liam was going to betray me, he would have left some breadcrumbs. It took months, but I found everything I needed. Liam had been siphoning money from the company into his own private accounts. Not only that, but he had been making backdoor deals, selling off assets without anyone knowing. He had changed the company structure, giving himself complete control while making me, on paper, look like a passive investor with no authority. He thought I was oblivious, but I was planning my revenge. My first step was to gather evidence. I couldn't confront him without proof, so I spent every free moment collecting documents, emails, and financial records. I became obsessed, driven by the need to expose him. Once I had everything, I reached out to a lawyer, a reputable one, not the snake Liam used. But I didn't just want to take legal action. No, that would be too easy. I wanted to make sure Liam's entire world crumbled around him, just like he had planned for mine. I knew Liam was all about his image. He loved being the successful businessman and had a reputation to uphold. He had a fiancée, Claire, a wealthy woman from a prominent family who was obsessed with status. She had no idea about Liam's shady dealings, and I suspected she had no clue about his infidelity either. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that part? Liam was cheating on her with one of our employees, a young intern he hired right after our dad passed. Classy, right? So, I waited. I bided my time, and when everything was ready, I dropped the bomb. First, I sent an anonymous email to Claire, detailing Liam's affair and attaching some very incriminating photos I'd managed to obtain. Don't ask how. Needless to say, the wedding was called off. Claire's family, who had been planning a huge investment in our business, pulled out immediately. Liam lost not just his fiancée, but a major financial backer in one fell swoop. But I wasn't done. Next, I leaked some of the shady business deals Liam had been making to the local press. It wasn't hard. Liam had been cutting corners with safety regulations and underpaying employees to boost profits. The media had a field day with it, and our once pristine family business was now in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Customers boycotted, employees threatened to strike, and Liam was forced to hold a press conference to address the scandal. During the press conference, I made my move. I arrived with my lawyer and the evidence I had gathered, ready to serve him with legal papers. In front of the cameras, I walked up to the stage, locked eyes with him, and handed him the lawsuit. The look on his face was priceless. But here's where it gets even juicier. Remember how I said Liam had been stealing money? Well, I managed to trace those funds to offshore accounts that he thought were untraceable. My lawyer had been working with law enforcement, and as soon as I served him with the lawsuit, the police arrived to investigate his financial crimes. They confiscated his assets, froze his accounts, and left him with nothing. My mother was devastated when she found out what Liam had done, but she understood that I had no choice. She couldn't believe the son she had trusted would betray the family like that, but the evidence was undeniable. We had to rebuild the company's reputation from the ground up, but I was ready to do it. And this time, I was in charge. As for Liam, he's still dealing with the fallout. His reputation is in tatters, his career is over, and he's facing criminal charges. He's tried reaching out to me, begging for forgiveness, but I have nothing to say to him. He made his bed, and now he can lie in it. So there you have it, Reddit. My brother thought he could steal the family business, but in the end, he had no idea I was planning his downfall. I'm not proud of how things went down, but sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. And let me tell you, revenge has never tasted so sweet. TLDR, my brother tried to steal the family business, but I gathered evidence of his shady dealings, exposed his affair, ruined his wedding, tanked his reputation, and now he's facing criminal charges while I'm rebuilding the family legacy. It's been 6 months since that day, since I walked into Liam's press conference and turned his life upside down. To say things have changed would be an understatement. The company is mine now, fully and legally. After all the dust settled, our mother signed over her shares to me. She said she couldn't bear to see what Liam had done and trusted me to restore what our father had built. It hasn't been easy. The scandal left a permanent stain, and I've spent countless sleepless nights rebuilding the business's reputation. But we're getting there. I've also learned a lot about myself through this process. I used to think I wasn't cut out for this, that Liam was the natural leader, the golden child who could do no wrong. But now, I see that the only difference between us was that I played by the rules while he didn't. And when I finally broke those rules to fight back, I realized I was stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. As for Liam, well, his life is in shambles, the criminal charges are still pending, and he's under investigation for financial fraud. Without his cushy lifestyle or wealthy fiancée to support him, he's been living off scraps, bouncing between cheap motels, and trying to stay out of the public eye. We haven't spoken since I served him the lawsuit, and I have no intention of ever forgiving him. You don't come back from something like this. Sometimes I think about how things could have been different. If Liam had just trusted me, we could have run this business together like our parents had always wanted, but instead, he let greed and ego consume him. I used to resent him for always being in the spotlight, for always getting more attention, more praise. Now, I just pity him. But that doesn't mean I regret what I did. He deserved every ounce of the downfall he brought on himself. And as I stand here looking out at the company I've worked so hard to rebuild, I realize I'm exactly where I was meant to be. Liam may have stolen the business once, but he had no idea that I was always the one truly destined to run it.